Allen, Anderson, Bates, Bell, Berryhill, Block, Canella, De Leon, Fuller, Gaines, Galgiani, Glazer, Hall, Hancock, Hernandez, Hertzberg, Hill, Hueso, Huff, Jackson, Latta, Leno, Leyva, Liu, McGuire, Mendoza, Mitchell, Monning, Morlock, Morrell, Wynn, Nilsson, Pan, Pavley, Roth, Runner, Stone, Vidak, Wachowski, Wolk.
Members, our secretary notices an absence of a quorum. If you can please make your way to the floor so we can conduct our business for today.
Allen, Anderson, Bates, Bell, Berryhill, Block, Canella, De Leon, Fuller, Gaines, Galgiani, Glazer, Hall, Hancock, Hernandez, Hertzberg, Hill, Hueso, Huff, Jackson, Latta, Leno, Leyva, Lou, McGuire, Mendoza, Mitchell, Monning, Morlock, Morrell, Wynn, Nilsson, Pan, Pavley, Roth, Runner, Stone, Vidak, Wachowski, Wolk.
Members, good morning. A quorum is present. Would the members and our guests beyond the rail and in the gallery please rise? We will be led in the prayer this afternoon by our chaplain, Sister Michelle Gorman, after which please remain standing. We will be led in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag by Senator Canella.
Let us recall that we are in God's presence. The poet and Bishop Dom Helder Camara of Brazil invites us to become experts. Become an expert in the art of discovering the good in every person. No one is entirely bad. Become an expert in the art of finding the truthful core in views of every kind. The human mind abhors total error. Gracious and loving Creator, we trust that you respect the good intentions of our hearts. Help us to extend the same courtesy to those we encounter in our daily lives. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Members, we're now going to be moving to privileges of the floor. Our esteemed Majority Leader, Senator Monning. Privileges of the floor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Members, under privileges of the floor, it's my honor to introduce my district staff. I'd ask them to please stand. They're here for a staff retreat from San Luis Obispo, Monterey, Santa Cruz, and Santa Clara counties. Please welcome this wonderful district staff. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, members.
Thank you, Senator Monning. Welcome to the State Senate. Messages from the governor will be deemed read. Messages from the Assembly will be deemed read. Reports of committee will be deemed read and the amendments adopted. Members' motions, resolutions, and notices. Pursuant to Senate Rule 29.10, subsection C, the following bills are referred to the Rules Committee. Item 40, SB 24. Item 41, SB 681. And item 42, AB 21. Motion to approve Senate journals without objection. The Senate journals will, for January 4th through January 7th, 2016, will be approved as corrected by the minute clerk. Members, any additional motions, resolutions, and notices? Senator Anderson, for purpose to rise.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we immediately take up item Senate Bill 333 for an override vote, and I'm ready to speak on the issue.
Senator Anderson, that motion is out of order. You're not the author of this measure.
I thought it was that all bills are property of the House, and this important bill dealing with date-rape drugs, which I am a co-author of, I thought it could be brought up because it's a property of the House.
No, Senator, that motion is out of order.
At this point, I'd like to appeal the ruling of the chair to the members, if I may.
Members, the appeal is before the body. It is Senator Monning is asking for a no vote. Senator Anderson is asking for an aye vote. Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen? No. Anderson? Aye. Bates? Bell? Berryhill? Block? Canella? De Leon? Fuller? Gaines? Galgiani? Glazer? Hall. No. Hancock. Hernandez. Hertzberg. Hill. No. Hueso. Huff. Jackson. Lada. No. Leno. Leyva. No. Liu. McGuire. No. Mendoza. No. Mitchell. No. Monty. No. Morlock. Aye. Morrell. Wynn. Nielsen. Pan. Pavley. No. Roth. Runner. Stone. Aye. Vidak. Aye. Wykowski. No. Wolk. No.
Secretary, please call the absent members.
Bates. Fuller, aye. Bates. Bell. Berryhill. Block. Canella. De Leon. Gaines. Galgioni. Glazer. Hancock. Hernandez. Hertzberg. Hueso. No. Huff. Jackson. Leno. Liu. Morrell. Aye. Wynn. Aye. Nielsen. Pan. Roth. Runner. Jackson, no. Leno, no.
Secretary, please call the absent members one more time.
Bates. Bell. Berryhill. Block. Canella. De Leon. Gaines. Galgioni. Glazer. Hancock. No. Hernandez. Hertzberg. Huff. Liu. No. Nielsen. Pan. Roth. Runner.
I-7, no 17. The ruling of the chair stands. Members, we're moving to introductions of first reading of bills. Bills are deemed read. Returning to motions and resolutions, this time to address any adjourned memories. Understanding we have several members, beginning with Senator Leyva.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, members. It is with a heavy heart that I ask us to rise today and adjourn in memory of the 14 victims of the San Bernardino tragedy, 5 of which were constituents of mine in the 20th State Senate District. I would also like to recognize and thank the San Bernardino County supervisors who have done an outstanding job of supporting the entire county during this time. I'd like to recognize Supervisor Josie Gonzalez, who is with us. Josie, if you can give us a little wave. Thank you very much. I would also like to recognize District Attorney Mike Ramos for everything that he has done, and also just name James Ramos, Janice Rutherford, Kurt Hagman, and Robert Lovingood, the other supervisors who aren't with us but have done an outstanding job. The shock and the grief of the entire Inland Empire community has suffered over the past month and will suffer for a long time, simply has no words. There are no words because it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that 14 innocent victims would be killed in the prime of their lives, that those lost were moms, dads, husbands, wives, boyfriends, sons, neighbors, and the list goes on. The void that this senseless act has created in so many families is unimaginable. As you all know, these victims were at a holiday party and a training where they were supposed to have fun and there was supposed to be some camaraderie. Instead, the morning became one of horror. To this day, San Bernardino still has a great number of media and outsiders, but eventually they will all leave. It is then that I really hope that San Bernardino comes together even closer, and I know that they will, to honor the victims and the sacrifices that were made every single day at home, work, and in their community. I usually don't think of grief as a one-time event to overcome, but rather a process with waves of emotions that come at us when we least expect them. It can and will come on that random Thursday evening when we're driving home from work, or when we hear a song that reminds us of friends and family. Or it will be years down the road with the same name of a friend who was introduced to us at a family or work function. It is for those exact times and reasons that we need to stand together, shoulder to shoulder, as Californians, to offer love and comfort to those left in the wake of this horrible tragedy. If we know one thing, above all, California is resilient. We never cower in the face of adversity, and instead we face it head on. I am reminded of a quote by Mother Teresa: "Love is a fruit in season at all times and within the reach of every hand." Ultimately, I, like all of you, believe more in the power of love than in the power of hate. We will not shrink and keep quiet just because others may wish to silence us. It is in our DNA to look after our families, friends, and neighbors and communities in times like this. The light in our community is a little dimmer now that these victims have been taken from us, but we will always make sure that their names are forever etched squarely in our minds, our hearts, and our soul. Let us adjourn in the memory of the 14 victims of the San Bernardino tragedy, whom I will now name one by one, so that we can mourn and honor them appropriately here on the floor of the California State Senate. Robert Adams, 40, Yucaipa. Isaac Amianos, 60, Fontana. Benetta Bettenball, 46, Rialto. Harry Bowman, 46, Upland. Sierra Claiborne, 27, Moreno Valley. Juan Espinoza, 50, Highland. Aurora Godoy, 26, San Jacinto. Shannon Johnson, 45, Los Angeles. Larry Daniel Kaufman, 42, Rialto. Damian Mines, 58, Riverside. Tin Nguyen, 31, Santa Ana. Nicholas Thalasinos, 52, Colton. Yvette Velasco, 27, Fontana. Michael Wetzel, 37, Lake Arrowhead. Thank you, members.
Senator Morrell on this item.
Well, thank you, members, and Senator Leyva, thank you for that, and appreciate that. And well, I do represent the 23rd Senate District, and it's interesting where the boundaries are. It was in my district, and about 3 blocks away is Connie's district, so we share a lot of overlap in that, and most of those victims were from her district as well as mine. So, in fact, I've spoken in that district, in that room, to those people a couple of years ago. So it hurts even more when you've kind of been there. But when the terrorist attack struck the regional center, as most of us, we were shocked and grieved by these senseless killings. But since that day, the effect is still there. I've had a number of people I've ran into. One lady, her husband, Robert Adams, was shot and killed that day. And a couple of days later, I spoke to his wife, Shannon, and he left behind, of course, his wife and a 20-month-old daughter. And as she's crying to me, she said, "Today is my birthday." And the thing that hurt the most is when I looked over, her father was there, and he looked like a rugged man, and he was fighting back tears. So, to sort of see what's going on was very, it was very difficult. I've seen things like this happen on television, but never experienced it on the first-hand level. Another day, a lady approached me. She was obviously traumatized, holding my hand. She had tears in her eyes, and I won't go into what happened specifically, but her and her family's been devastated personally by this. In fact, the city that she lives in, next door to San Bernardino, the city council, she's a fixture in that town, has even gone to her house to try to calm her down because she's been so struck by this. And so it's just a somber reminder that evil does exist in this world. The only way I could describe it is sort of bittersweet. The bitterness I just described, but there were some sweet spots that I'd like to share. Our community, resilience of our members of our community, we're strong, stronger than ever, and there's been we saw a lot of acts of heroism. Detective George Lozano, there was some people hiding in the back room, and they were afraid to come out, and he said, look, I'll be there for you. I'll take the bullet for you, so follow me. Just love that man. Or Shannon Johnson, who lost his life by shielding his fellow employees. He put his body so that others would live. So amazing feats of heroism. Also, I spoke to a 26-year-old officer who was the car following the terrorist, and the wife of the terrorist was shooting out the back window and hit his car 16 times, grazed him, and he was fortunate to survive that. He told me that his mother called later in the day and said, are you okay? And he goes, oh, I wasn't even involved with anything. And then he waited 3 days till Sunday at dinner time, said, by the way, there's probably something else you should know. You know the police car that got shot up behind their car? That was me. So another hero in our community, which is encouraging that so many people in San Bernardino stepped up. So it's a good reminder that there's still good people in this world. And I'm grateful and both inspired by the quickness and professionalism of our first responders. Everybody acted with professionalism. Our county sheriff did an awesome job. Our Redlands Police Department, our city of San Bernardino, our mayors, our district attorney, our people who are here today, our county supervisors, Josie Gonzalez. What's interesting is no one tried for any glory. They acted as one unit with the highest priority was to protect over the citizens and to bring comfort in a time when our city is grieving and needs healing. So I thank you guys for that. It was awesome to see. I want to read something too, which I think after I read it, you'll understand why. It's from John Winthrop. He's a guy who was one of the Quake pilgrims whose ship sank right off the coast of America in 1630. He said, now the only way to avoid this shipwreck and to provide for the posterity is to follow the counsel of Micah, to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with our God. For this end, we must be knit together in this work as one. We must entertain each other in brotherly affection. We must be willing to abridge ourselves for the supply of others' necessities. We must uphold a familiar commerce together in all meekness, gentleness, patience, and love. We must delight in each other, and here's the part that I like, making others' conditions our own, rejoicing together, mourning together, labor and suffering together, always having before our eyes our commission and community in the same work as members of the same body, so we shall keep the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. And I think that what came out of there was exactly this, of people suffering together in our community, making other conditions their own. It was sort of an amazing thing to see, and it continues to this day. There's been fundraising efforts on the behalf of the victims and their families, prayer vigils, and the prayer vigils, there was a lot of them, people from all walks of life coming together, asking God to heal our nation. It was a pretty amazing thing. There was a big memorial on Monday where Pastor Rick Warren came out, as well as former New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani, who reached out to our community for comfort and encouraging the families of the victims who were there. It was a wonderful thing to see. So I want to thank all here for honoring those people that perished in the San Bernardino area. And San Bernardino, the County Board of Supervisors, has a pin we left on your desk saying, San Bernardino strong. And I think that is one thing that's coming out. The best of our people, cream is rising to the top. So it was a tragedy, but I'm just grateful that we have some wonderful citizens in the San Bernardino area. So thank you, members, for your time.
Senator Stone on this item.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, let me say I want to offer my condolences to all the victims of the San Bernardino incident. I was in Hemet, California, attending a funeral that ended about 12:30, 1 o'clock, and I got in my car and turned on the radio and heard about the events that were unfolding in San Bernardino at our regional center. And as many of you know, I've been a very strong proponent of the good work that the regional center does for people that are less fortunate than ourselves. And I felt this compulsion that I needed to be there on behalf of us to ensure that the state resources were being promptly utilized. And I can tell you, I got there at the site, and I can tell you I was amazed. I was amazed at the cooperation When I got there was a command post. The FBI was working cooperatively with the Board of Supervisors, with the San Bernardino Sheriff, San Bernardino District Attorney's Office, Homeland Security, the FBI, all within an hour. And for those of us that have served in local governments, like I have for 22 years, post 9/11, we spent a lot of money preparing for events like this, never thinking that one day we would witness a terrorist attack in our own neighborhoods. And so I also had a relationship with one of the victims, Mr. Damian Mines, who originally worked for the County of Riverside in the Environmental Services Department, and as fate would have it, would take an advancement, a job in San Bernardino County. And as fate would have it, he would become one of those victims. My condolences certainly to him and his family. And the County of Riverside did an appropriate service for him in his honor. But I just want to summarize by saying that we should commend our local governments for all the good work they do to prepare for events like this. We never want to see these kinds of events, but I was very proud of all of our public safety services, our first responders, our ambulances, backup police departments, Fontana Police Department, Redlands Police Department, all the fire services, AMR ambulance. It was the most incredible response that I've ever seen. It made me very proud to be an American and to witness all of our public safety agencies not rushing to mic to be the first to talk, but to work cooperatively to minimize the carnage that we saw. I believe without that, that training, I believe that the number of victims would have greatly exceeded the 14 that we saw and the 21 that were remained. So to the County of Riverside, Ms. Josie Gonzalez, Supervisor, one of my former colleagues, to you and your colleagues, job well done.